Ed was the life of the party, a man's man. He was just happy, happy, happy all the time. Loved his job, loved it.
Being a cop has deep roots in the Adamson family tree. Ed's father, police chief Harold Adamson from 1971 to 81. His daughter is a sergeant with York Region.
He was so proud. He was so proud the day I graduated from police college.
All of that changed March 14th, 1980.
That night, it was Ed's last night shift. We were taking Julie to Florida the next day. I got a call. There was a hostage taking.
Negative, looks like he's overcome by the hostage was shot originally at the target.
This was one of the darkest nights in Toronto police history. A crime that continues to haunt. Constable Michael Sweet is shot and held hostage inside George's Bourbon Street Bistro on Queen West during a botched robbery by the now infamous Monroe brothers, Craig and Jamie. Sergeant Ed Adamson, commander of the emergency task force, is ordered not to storm the building. He can hear Constable Sweet pleading for his life. For 90 minutes, as Constable Sweet is bleeding out inside, Sergeant Adamson follows orders outside.
He listened until he couldn't listen anymore, and he disobeyed orders and went in.
Sergeant Adamson there and his men felt they couldn't wait any longer. They knew the officer was in there. They knew he was shot.
You want him to go live now?
But it was too late. Constable Sweet, married father of 3 young girls, died in hospital.
When he got home, I opened the door and my Ed was gone, the man that I married. And he never returned, ever.
Sergeant Adamson's widow is scared to show her face, fearful of retribution from the Monroe brothers, who she says have taunted and threatened her family since immediately after the shootout 32 years ago.
We had the police living in our house in a separate room, 24 hours a day. Julie couldn't walk to school. She couldn't play out the front.
How did the events of that night manifest themselves through the days, the weeks, the months, the years following the killing of Constable Sweet?
Ed died that night. The Monroe brothers, they didn't kill just one officer, they killed 2. My husband just took 25 years to die.
For 25 years, Sergeant Adamson was a tortured man.
He cried in his sleep for the whole 25 years. Don't die, I'm coming, I'm coming.
He would say it was his fault and that he should have gone in sooner. And, he blamed himself for the fact that, Michael Sweet's children grew up without their father and his wife without her husband. It was horrible for my dad. It was devastating to watch somebody who's such a strong man be just so overwhelmed with such sadness and such guilt.
Falling apart on the inside, Sergeant Adamson continues to wear the badge.
He was a sergeant when it happened. He got promoted to staff sergeant. He loved his job. His job was his life.
And his family says it was also his death. October 5th, 2005.
I had just gotten a phone call from my mother. She was hysterical, screaming, "Something's happened to your father, something's happened to your father." My boss is calling me on the cell phone to come over to see him. I go over to him and he's crying, and I knew. My dad had checked into a motel, suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. I don't know what goes on in the mind of somebody who suffers from that. And he took his own life. He shot himself.
Sergeant Adamson had with him a binder of news articles about the killing of Constable Sweet. Ed Adamson's widow and daughter visit the wall honoring fallen police officers. His name isn't on it. They say it should be.
It says heroes in life, not death. What my dad did was a heroic action. And he just continued to die over the next 25 years. And I believe that because of that, he deserves to be on that wall. He deserves to be among those officers because he did give his life for that job. He gave his heart, his soul, his whole being for that job. And he deserves to be there.